What's up, y'all? How you doing? It's Alina, and in this video, we'll be diving into the 5 things you need to know all about this February 2022 full moon in the fiery sign of Leo. We'll talk about some of the power that lies within striking a balance between the individual and collective as we see it reflected through this conjunction between this Leo moon and Aquarius sun. As always, we'll cover the transit surrounding this full moon, what to expect, how to best align with its energy, and at the end, I'll offer some custom writing prompts along with some new offerings. I asked y'all for a little bit of feedback on how I can improve these videos, and I'll be offering some affirmations and a recommendation on a good crystal to work with during this full moon time. And as always, if you're interested in aligning your schedule with astrology, the seasons, and much more, be sure to check out the Auralign Astrology Planner. It's my creation and it includes all of the top astrological events happening in 2022, along with dedicated full new moon ritual pages and so much more. So if it interests you, be sure to check out the link in the description and on the screen here. And with that said, let's jump in. Why is this full moon important? The full moon in general is seen as a culmination point midway through the lunar cycle. Just as it raises the tides along with it, so can it raise our emotions and intuitive abilities. This is one of many reasons why full moons are seen as an emotional time, a time of romance, fertilization, and connection. Now can be a powerful time for healthy self-expression, whether that looks like expression through verbal conversation, maybe through artwork, and what many people do is a full moon ritual, where they write out what has and hasn't been working for them. And just as we see the light waning following the full moon down to its lowest point at the new moon at the end of the lunar cycle, many people believe that so too can their intentions and the things that they're wishing to let go of fade as well. I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description for how I do my full moon rituals, but I definitely encourage y'all, if you feel called to check out what your ancestors might have done during the full moons or new moons, and in general in response to the changing of seasons and cosmology. It's really fascinating to learn how so many cultures around the world, so many ancient societies paid reverence to these phases. Now, more specifically with this full moon, as many of you might already know, all full moons occur when there is a conjunction that's formed between the moon and sun. Now, conjunction aspects in astrology indicate polarity between the two astral bodies and their signs and energy that are involved. And with many full moons, we're often being called to strike a balance between these two dualities. So we see this polarity between Leo and Aquarius energy, that being the Leo moon and the Aquarius sun, the Leo energy of the individual and the Aquarius energy of the collective or the impersonal. So we see the energy of the Leo moon offering us energetic support within the realms of self-expression, creativity, a boost to the ego, and finding things that make us as individuals feel great through romance and connection. And on the other end, we see this Aquarius sun offering us energetic support within connecting with others, supporting the collective, and thinking about things in more objective senses outside of the self, outside of the ego. So on one hand, this full moon absolutely offers us energetic support within the realms of connecting with others, of looking at our boundaries relative to helping and connecting with the collective, as well as holding space for ourselves as individuals. What does it look like to connect with others, to help others while also holding space for yourself? The saying that comes to mind as I describe this is the description or the analogy that you need to pour into your own cup and whatever overflows goes to others, right? It's kind of similar to the analogy of putting on the mask for air before you give it to your family members, right? That all makes sense to me. The second analogy I feel like is more of an emergency, which also makes sense for a lot of people. But I also see the other perspective of it in that we're all imperfect beings, right? We're all rocking around with our own lens on the world, our own potential trauma. And what does it look like to show up imperfectly? What does it look like if we can potentially help others by opening up with those things? Next, this full moon definitely seems to lend itself to energetic support within the realms of revelations. Looking at this full moon along with the transit surrounding it, like for example, the Venus-Mars conjunction, which we'll dive into, definitely lend itself to offering potential revelations within the realms of creativity, what sets us on fire, what serves us as the individual, that Leo fiery energy of looking out for oneself, as well as what sets us ablaze when we're connecting with others and striking that balance. Next, what transits impact this moon. First up, at the time of this full moon, we'll see Venus conjuncting Mars. And as many of you already know, a conjunction in astrology indicates a blending and unity between the astral bodies involved. So we see both Venus and Mars in the sign of Capricorn. And when we see Venus in this sign, we often see energetic support within the realms of romantic connections, friendship, collective connections with one another, but from a safe distance. We see the lessons and the power within finding independence within new connections. We then see Mars, also in Capricorn, this planet of assertiveness and courage, offering energetic support within being direct and speaking our truths to one another to access what we need. During this time, it will absolutely lend itself to this Leo moon in offering us more confidence in speaking out what we need, especially in relationships and in our communities. We're also in a very unique time right now where we have no retrogrades going on. So this period of time is a very great time for setting up connections, making deals, signing contracts, and things of that respect because of the lack of retrogrades bringing in potential mishaps. I don't know about y'all, but I feel like over the last, 1 to 2 weeks, I just have to mention this because I feel like it's relevant to a lot of these transits. When I ask, I feel like I've been receiving. I just really feel this sense that so many roads are opening right now for me as an individual. And it also brings to mind wanting to remind y'all that for all transits, for the full moon, new moon, any astrological event going on, while it can impact the collective in a general sense, depending on your natal charts, it can hit in a different way. So for example, during the new moon, I mentioned that the Venus retrograde hit me so hard. And I had friends who were like, no, I'm feeling fine. But it was really interesting to see how with my natal charts, looking at how these transits impacted me, it just changed. And I bring that up all to say, have you been experiencing anything like this where you feel like roads are opening up? I hope that makes sense. Comment below if it resonates at all. Next, we have Jupiter, the planet of expansion and optimism, sextiling with Uranus, the planet of awakening and originality. A sextile aspect in astrology indicates energetic support between the astral bodies involved. So we have this uniquely powerful transit really lending itself with energetic support within the realms of independent progressive thinking, idealism relative to inspiration, and powerful collective support. So now can be a great time, if you feel called to do so, to connect with the change makers around you, whether that's in your community, online. And this can look like exploring local volunteer organizations, local collectives that are giving back to the community as well. Or depending where you're at, this could look like joining new clubs with like-minded individuals that are passionate and interested in the same things as you. Next, a few days following the full moon, we have Pisces season going into effect on the 18th. Woo! So what's really cool about Pisces season is that it offers compassion, intuition, mysticism, and imagination. So this season can be an optimal time for healthy emotional release and intuitive processing, dream journaling, and setting healthy boundaries. If y'all have your Auralign planner, at the beginning of it, I offer a whole synopsis and breakdown of each astrological season, including Pisces. So looking at the holistic health wheel and seeing on the calendar, on the wheel itself of the seasons that we're past the midway point of winter, getting closer to the tail end of it, entering this Pisces season, now can be an optimal time for diving deeper within the psyche and the spiritual self. There's a lot of energetic support within this realm. So like mentioned, this looks like dream journaling. This looks like exploring spiritual practices that we might have had connections with ancestrally if we feel called to do so. This also can look like diving deeper into creative and spiritual endeavors as well. Next, how should we expect to feel? Full moons in general are seen as energetic high points in the lunar cycle. So you might notice that there might be more openings or alignments when it comes to connecting with more people, or more energy in general to get into action when it comes to your intentions that you might have set during this past new moon. We also might experience heightened intuitive and emotional energy, and this likely might increase as we go into Pisces season, as this season definitely lends itself to the more psychic and intuitive realms. And more specifically, referencing back to these transits, along with this conjunction between the Leo moon and Aquarius Sun will definitely likely see some potential revelations in our own lives or in others relative to romance, creativity, and personal endeavors. All right, next let's dive into these full moon journal prompts. If you have your Auralign planner, you can go ahead and flip to the dedicated full moon ritual page within the month of February. But if you don't have it, you don't need it. All you'll need will be a pen and paper. What I'll do is I will put up the writing prompts on the screen. I invite you to pause the video when you see them, write them out, and at the end, we'll come back. What does a welcoming and inspiring community look like to you? Have you experienced it? What first comes to mind when you think of following your spiritual callings? If you could never fail, what would your personal intentions be for the second half of this winter season? What routines would help to support this? Is there anything you're ready to release during this full moon? This can look like limiting beliefs, habits, patterns, people, or environments that no longer serve you. All right, y'all, I hope you enjoyed those writing prompts. And as always, if you feel called to, I definitely share them in the comments down below so we can start a conversation. Next, we have a new segment. I'm really trying to experiment with segments in these videos, and this one's called Working with the Elements. So I want to try and offer some tips, some ways that you can work with the elements during these full and new moon periods. So first off, let's talk about the element of air. With that, I have an affirmation for you during this full moon, and that is, my creative and emotional expression is powerful. Feel free to write that out. If you decide to do any type of ritual, you're welcome to use it as a mantra, whatever feels good to you. I also had a friend bring up the idea of customizing your affirmations. So if that affirmation resonates with you, reword the words, make it your own, as long as it feels right to you. Next, we'll work with the element of the earth, that being a crystal recommendation. So for this full moon, I recommend the crystal that is citrine. Citrine is a powerful, energizing, and cleansing crystal that carries the power of the sun. And with this being a full moon in Leo, this is a perfect crystal, in my opinion, for working with your solar plexus chakra. This crystal also lends itself to supporting the manifestation of abundance, prosperity, and overall health. And that's it for the working with the elements section. It's a work in progress. I'm giving myself grace to not try and always show up perfectly. Feel free to comment down below ways that we might be able to work with the element of water, whether that is a bath, a spiritual bath of some kind, or working with the element of fire. I know Leo is a fire sign. That's why I thought that citrine would be excellent for it. But go ahead and comment those things down below. And if you made it to the end of this video, I encourage you to comment 3 lion emojis to let me know you're here. And I just want to thank y'all for engaging with my videos, because when you do that with mine or any other person's video, you're telling the YouTube algorithm that you enjoy content like this, and it really helps to support small but growing creators like myself continue to grow. And as always, y'all know I'm gonna plug it. Be sure to check out the Auralign Astrology Planner if you're interested in aligning your schedule with the full and new moon phases and all the astrology events going on in 2022. It includes full and new moon ritual pages along with much more, and you can check it out by following the link on the screen or in the description box below. And with all of that said, I will leave you with my favorite quote, and that is, be gentle with yourself, because life is about the journey, not the destination.